Today is the day that I introduce you to Heidi, who is my brown rice, gluten-free starter to make gluten-free sourdough bread. Most of the time she sits in the fridge waiting for me, but today is the day that I need to feed her. And you can tell she needs to eat because of the little bit of water that's lying on top of the brown rice solution. I want to bake with her tomorrow, so she needs to be fed. I'll show you how I do that. The first important step is to start with a clean, dry jar. No matter how many times you feed it each week, every time start with a clean, fresh jar. The first thing you do is mix the solution together. You want to combine that water lying on top with the brown rice solution underneath until it's completely combined. And so now you can see that it's become sort of runny. Now you're going to measure out the starter. Now whatever amount you decide to do, you need to do equal parts of your starter with your brown rice and your distilled water. Today I'm going to measure out 70 grams, and that's because I want a little extra for when I bake my bread tomorrow. Now, you definitely need to have a kitchen scale, and I'll post a link below in one of the scales you can get off Amazon that works for this. But any kitchen scale, as long as you can get an exact measurement, is what's needed. So now it's time to measure the dry ingredient, and there's only one dry ingredient. I prefer to use Bob's Red Mill brown rice flour. I haven't tried other brown rice flours. I don't know if they work the same, but this is what I like to use. So I put the same amount, 70 grams of brown rice flour, and then I add the dry ingredients to the starter. I'm not measuring it, I'm just putting it on the scale so that it's close to the camera. This part doesn't be measured because you know you have equal amounts of starter and brown rice flour. It's time to zero out the scale again and now measure the distilled water. Now this is where what I do is a little bit different than most other people, but I believe that distilled water is the best choice for my starter because it has no additional items in it. City water, well water, even bottled water is going to have little ingredients in it that might react or act with the bacteria, and you need to give the bacteria in your sourdough starter the best opportunity to thrive. And so by using distilled water, it does not interrupt the bacteria process at all. I'm a firm believer in this. You can dispute me all you want, but it works for me. I make sure everything is mixed all together really well, and then I mark the side of the jar what the level of the sourdough starter is, because I want to see how much it's rising each time that I allow it to rise. Next, I put a clean, dry lid on. I do not tighten all the way, it just lightly rests on top. I mark my oven. This is my little trick with my sourdough sign. The number of times that I have almost fried my sourdough starter by turning on my oven is not good. I turn on the oven light and then pop my sourdough starter inside right beside the oven light. Now, the reason I do this is because I want it to have a nice warm environment for the bacteria in the sourdough starter to begin to build. And you're going to watch this now as we time lapse it to watch as the sourdough starter does its magic. And then partway through, it's going to reach its peak and then begin to slightly settle on itself. And that way I know that it is hungry again and ready to be fed. So I pull it out of the oven, put it onto the counter. Look at that nice bubbles. We know that it's almost doubled in size. Now I put it in yesterday, it rose overnight, and so it is hungry again. And that's the way you want to put it into your sourdough bread, gluten-free, is you want it to be hungry. So that when I put it into this, it's going to help it ferment and grow and bubble even more. So you do not want it a well-fed starter. You want it a hungry starter going into your bread. Okay. And I need 60 grams of this. So I'm going to mix it up. Next week's video is how to make your very own gluten-free sourdough bread. It is the best bread that I have eaten as a gluten-free connoisseur now, can I say that of myself? You're going to love it.
I'm going to put this in with the rest of the ingredients.
And here's your teaser to what we're making next week. This is the best gluten-free sourdough bread. I love it, and the house smells divine. Eating each slice is so great. I can't wait to share this recipe with you.
She's all done her work. We've made a loaf of bread, and now I'm putting her back in the fridge, hungry. She wants to eat, but she's gonna stay here in the fridge for another week until I need to make another loaf of bread. That's how I do my gluten-free brown rice sourdough starter. Hope you enjoyed and learned a lot. If you want to see how I make a sourdough gluten-free bread loaf, watch the next video. Hope you enjoy, and I'll see you all next week.